When doing web development, knowing how to use your code editor properly is really important. But another aspect that is just as important is learning how to use your web browser. All of you know how to browse the web, but there are parts of the web browser that are hidden for most people. If you're not doing web development, there are areas of your web browser that you might have not even heard of. So I'm going to show you in this video some of the basics on how you can explore the DOM. I'll define that in a sec, and how to use the console, the JavaScript console. We'll be using the JavaScript console throughout this course, and I recommend you to have it always on when you're doing web development. So what we have here is a very basic HTML document. There's a title, there's a container that has a color red for the font, and actually this is not being closed properly, so I'm just going to fix that. There you go. And then there's another container with a background color of yellow. And I want to be able to explore this, the DOM. The DOM is, it stands for a document object model, and basically it is the way that the web browser represents the HTML code of your page, which is like a tree in a way, where we have the HTML, and then it has branches which are the head, the body, and they themselves have their own branches and so forth, and that's all represented in an object, in a structure of information. We'll cover objects later on in the course, so it'll be more clear then. And I'm going to show you how to explore that. What you can do is do a right click on your mouse, and go to inspect element. I'm using Google Chrome at the moment, but other web browsers, all web browsers, have a similar tool of exploring the DOM and a JavaScript console. So see how I can get to a whole new area of my web browser that maybe you weren't aware existed. If I hover the mouse over different parts, it highlights what these parts are in the page, and also it allows me to see the styles. These are the styles that I've entered, and if I had included an external style sheet, it would also show those styles, the ones that apply to this particular element. See how I can disable a certain style, or I can enable it back. But if I make any changes here, such as disabling a style or modifying, for instance, the color, that does not get saved in the page. It's only for you to see in the web browser. So sometimes you want to see what would this look like if I change the color, or if I change the border, the padding. You can do all of that in here. And the computed style, it's like a summary of all the styles that apply to that particular element. Another thing that we'll be using here is the JavaScript console. So every time that you, inside a JavaScript script, when you type console.log and then some text in quotes, which could be single quotes or double quotes, that's going to show up here. It's not showing anywhere in the page, it's showing here in the console. So it allows you to send messages when you're developing. You want to see, for instance, did the code reach this certain point, or what's the value of this variable in this part. Then you add a console.log statement. Also, if there are errors in your code, sometimes things don't work. A lot of time you're going to have errors in your code. If I type something that doesn't make sense for JavaScript and I reload the page by pressing F5, you'll see that there's an error, a syntax error, and it indicates in which line of my document that error can be found. It tells me that in line 18 there's an error because I wrote something that doesn't make sense for the language. There are many more parts on the console, but the other one that we're going to look into now is just the network one. When you're loading a page and that page is including more files, all of the files that are being loaded, whether they're images, style sheet, JavaScript files, anything that's put in the page, it's going to show here. And if the file is not found, it's going to tell you here that the file is not found. It's also going to tell you the size of the files. So that's about it. That's the console. Feel free to explore it. Keep it always on open when you're doing web development. And yeah, it's time to actually get started with the language now. We're gonna cover variables in the next video.